Seahawks fans, wherever you may be, welcome back for another edition of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. Join your host, Bill Alvstad, and co-host, sports writer and football analyst Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Seahawks fans, welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers, here to talk Seahawks football. We are now in the middle of our look at all the position groups on the roster for the Seahawks. And last show we did the quarterbacks, was our first show in the series. Now we're up talking about running backs. And it looks like we've improved this running back room this year. It's pretty exciting with a couple of draft picks in addition to Ken Walker. And so we've got a fun show, lots to talk about. Hey, Keith, how you doing, man?
Yeah. So like, if you look at just pure talent, I don't know if it's improved, but you have to kind of say that it is, simply because Rashad Penny, does he count because he couldn't be healthy? So if you look at the talent coming into camp, it's pretty similar, except for now you've got guys that can stay healthy, hopefully, instead of guys that you absolutely knew weren't going to.
Yeah.
So
well, obviously,
it's definitely a different group.
Running back room is definitely hard to keep healthy. I don't think that we've gone through the season where we've had all 3 or 4 backs on the roster healthy for the entire season, every game. It's just the nature of the position. Mm-hmm. Ken Walker missed a couple of games last year because of injury. Also, just didn't play in a couple of games early in the season because of Penny. But he had appeared in 15 games, 11 starts last year, 228 rushing attempts, 1,050 yards, 9 touchdowns, 74 yards was his long carry. He's explosive. He's got that opportunity to do that. Also can add a little bit for you in the passing game, 27 receptions, 35 targets, 165 yards, 0 fumbles, by the way, on that. So the ball control for him, protecting the ball, keeping it off the ground is a premium for Pete Carroll, and Ken does that really well. And then in the draft, they drafted a guy that can complement him, not unlike Penny. Now, Penny had that explosiveness that was just unrivaled. Once he got into open space, he was gone. Zach Charbonnet is not quite that, but he's going to give you everything but that is from that spot. A guy that's 6 foot, 214 pounds, likely to come in just slightly heavier than that. Ran a 4.53 40, so he's not going to be blistering, but he's similar to Chris Carson in that respect. In fact, he's going to remind everyone, I think, a little bit of Chris Carson, more of an upright runner, but pretty nifty in closed space. He's got a 1.54 split in a 10-yard split, which is actually extremely fast for a guy his size. So he's nimble, yet he's tough to tackle. He's physical. He's going to get after you. He's going to initiate contact. Sean Alexander was a guy that kind of glides. He'll remind you a little bit of Charbonnet, the way he glides into open space with long strides. But Charbonnet is going to initiate contact. A guy like Sean Alexander, if people remember, it was a guy that usually would figure out a way to get out of bounds before somebody would hit him.
Yep.
So I like these two at the top.
Runner.
Yeah, I like these 2 running backs at the top for Seattle. I agree with Maurice Jones-Drew in that it does give you an opportunity to dominate games now in the running game when you need to put teams away, when you need to run down that clock. You talked about efficiency when we were talking in the quarterback show, how Geno Smith and the offense with Shane Waldron just became much more efficient last year. I think it even steps forward again this year to a new level of efficiency.
Yeah, so what you're referring to, for those of people listening, is Maurice Jones-Drew, former running back, was star with the Jaguars and that kind of stuff. Like Seattle's draft, said that they were building one that could compete and beat the 49ers. Specifically, that he liked the Charbonnet pick because when you have a defensive line like San Francisco's that's really good and dominant, the best thing that you can do is make them defend the run and do it over and over again by being efficient running the ball, because you're going to wear them down. You're going to make them have responsibilities that they have to account for first before they can get after your quarterback. And, that's what Charbonnet gives them. I actually think that Charbonnet makes this team significantly better. Um, I like Ken Walker is great, but Ken Walker, what we found last year when he became the guy, he had a few games where he was dominant, and he also had a few games where he didn't do much because he isn't that grinder between the tackles. He's the fast guy that can get to the edge and just beat everyone down the field. Um, and he can run between the tackles too, but he isn't
And
a
he got better
grinder.
as the year he got better as the year went on, but he's
He did.
definitely a bouncing back. He likes to bounce, which is
Yep.
fine. You need a back like that in the NFL, and he does a great job at that.
Yeah.
And he's also got an opportunity. I think he could end up leading the NFL in rushing. I mean, he's really that explosive. He gives you an opportunity to be able to do that.
I don't
But
think he
Zach
will,
Charbonnet
because I
is
think because he's going to split time with Charbonnet too. It's because Charbonnet is that grinder. He's that guy that's going to fight between the tackles, always fall forward, give you that extra yard every run, even when the sledding is tough in the middle. Um, and you were talking about, oh, he's not that quick. 4.53 is not slow for a running back. It may not be a blistering, like 4.37 like Ken Walker, but um, you know, you compared him to Chris Carson, who was like a 4.7, 4.68. He's significantly faster than Carson. I think that this is a guy that's
he's just not
super
going to
athletic.
break away from a lot of defensive backs.
No,
For
not from defensive
huge
backs,
gains.
but there are a lot of linebackers that are going to struggle to keep up with him.
Yeah,
Defensive backs will be able to run him down, but they may run him down 30 yards downfield. That's still a massive gain. So I think that you're going to see where certain games you're going to see a lot of Ken Walker, because his ability to bounce and change direction is going to just be explosive, and they're going to have a lot of big runs. And other games you're going to see a lot of Zach Charbonnet, because his ability to run between the tackles, um, grind out hard-earned yards in the middle, and get up on linebackers quickly, hit the linebackers instead of being hit, fall forward for 7 yards. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Pete Carroll loves. And having both backs, which is what they thought they were going to get last year. They thought they were going to have Penny to do, the stuff in the middle, and Walker to, be the complementary back and do all the great things that Walker does. But Penny got hurt after a few games and then was gone, which no one should have been surprised about. He's been hurt every single year he's been in the NFL. Um, but I think this year they're going to have what they thought they had last year, and that is going to mean that this offense is going to be significantly better.
yeah. I mean, Charbonnet is great. 6 foot, 214 pounds. Like I said earlier, in 2022, he had 195 rushes, only 195 rushing attempts, but for 1,359 yards, a 7.0 average, 14
Yeah,
touchdowns. Also added 37 receptions for 321 yards, and that was just in 10 games. He missed 3 because of injury. Um, uh, I'm excited about this pick. He was one of those running backs that I identified early in the draft process as a guy I thought would be a perfect fit for Seattle. Similar in that Penny role, not quite as explosive, but plenty explosive in the NFL. And he will be a perfect tandem with Walker there to hold down that thing. And then obviously moving on, we've got DJ Dallas, who's been with the club for 3 years. He's coming into a fourth and final season on his rookie contract. He's very productive in a sense that he's consistent.
hmm
Um, 35 rushing attempts. Basically, you can just pencil that in. 35 rushing attempts, 33 rushing attempts, 34 rushing attempts. That's his last 3 years. 108 yards up to 186 yards last year with a 5.3 average. He actually looked more decisive this last year, a little bit more explosive, still had the same number of carries, but did more with those carries, and also receive out of the backfield. He showed as well that he could be diverse in that he could do some kick return type work for the Seahawks as well. So he's going to be in play, I think, for that job again this year. Um,
Dallas
and
has
I like
gotten
TJ
better
Dallas.
every year.
He's gotten better, but you know what? There's no special element about his game. He's just a solid guy, good
hmm
pro, good teammate, comes in, good special teams player. So there's definitely a defined role for him. I am uh, of the belief that the next guy that we talk about will end up taking his job by the time the season's over.
I don't, well, by the time the season's over, maybe just because he's in the last year of his contract. But he's a different
I
kind.
disagree. I don't think it's just because of the last years of his contract, Keith. I believe that Kenny McIntosh, who we're going to talk about, drafted in the 7th round, is a better prospect than DJ Dallas on every possible key athletic trait.
Yeah, see, I don't buy that. Um, and you look at, well, DJ Dallas, athletically, he's good enough to be a back. For him, the problem was he was indecisive. He had a hard time reading blocks, and doing those things, which is why he was essentially a kick returner and a special teams player, and not a running back for his first couple of years. But he has improved every year, and the way he's improved has been his ability to read blocks, his ability to make people miss and
Agreed.
do those things, which is why he averaged 5.3 yards a carry last year. He is a guy who has a lot of tread left on the tires because he hasn't been used much. But he's explosive and he has the ability to become a very good player. He's also only 24. Like, I get that he's had been 3 years in the league, but he's only 24. He'll be 25 this year. He's a young player to be in the last year of his rookie year. And so I don't count him out. Like, I just think that he's done a lot of the work. He's figured out how to be a guy that can be reliable as a third down back, picking up blitzes, getting out of the backfield. And he has gotten significantly better at doing what he has to do between the tackles. Kenny McIntosh is not a between the tackles runner. And you've already, so Kenny McIntosh is Ken Walker's backup. But
I agree with that.
he is not Zach Charbonnet's backup. He does not have the potential to do the things that Zach Charbonnet does. DJ Dallas is Charbonnet's backup, and I think that they're
I
different
disagree with
roles.
you. I disagree with you a little bit in that I believe Kenny McIntosh can be a in between the tackles back. He's
I don't
six
know.
foot 204, listed 6 foot 204. I think they probably bump him up. He's not going to lose any more time on his 40. He ran a 4.6 240 if he went up to 214, which I think is possible for McIntosh. If you look at him, he looks and plays bigger than 204.
Yeah,
Great production, but complete fail in his athletic testing after the season, dropped him significantly in the draft. Everyone was talking about him as being a third or back into the third, 4th round talent in this draft. Ended up going in the 7th round. Little chip on his shoulder. The nice thing about Kenny is he does have a 1.54 split, so similar as Charbonnet as far as elusiveness in tight spaces, making people miss, etc. And then a significant player in the receiving game. He had 43 pass catches for 504 yards and a couple touchdowns for Georgia this last season, receiving the ball out of the backfield. And I think that's where he comes into play initially on this team.
yeah. He is Travis Homer, smaller guy, good at receiving, gonna be a third down back. But I do disagree with you, and so does every um like scout that has written a profile on him. He is not a between the tackles runner. You try to run him between the tackles, he doesn't do anything with it. Um, his production is a guy that got outside. Um, his production came, a lot of it was through throws. And so they'd split him out wide and then basically throw a screen to him out there, which counts as a run because the ball's thrown backwards. Um, and so that's where he's productive. He's not productive on the inside. So if
No,
somebody gets
I agree. I'm just
if
saying I think
somebody
that he has ability.
if somebody gets hurt, right, above him, you don't bring in Kenny McIntosh to be that guy that's going to help you run between the tackles and grind out wins. He's not that guy. He's just not.
Similar in the way that the team obviously views like a DJ Dallas. because,
Well, they used him last year that
yeah, but
when
they would
they
use
brought him
Kenny
in.
McIntosh in a similar way, but not get a lot out of him. And I think you don't get a lot out of DJ Dallas by running him between the tackles. He can do that
5
for you in a pinch, but
5.3 yards per carry?
in 35 attempts, Keith, and most of those
I
came
know.
outside the tackles.
No, a lot of them last year had came inside because they had to when after Penny got hurt and when Walker got hurt, Dallas became the guy, and
Listen,
they were
here's the
running him
thing
up
with
the
DJ
middle.
Dallas. Now I'll take everything you just said with a slight grain of salt. I'm going to just disagree with you just slightly in that if you remember correctly, there were 3 or 4 pretty explosive big time runs from DJ Dallas last year, which contributed significantly in 35 attempts to his overall per carry average. And so I don't know what those numbers are. I don't have them in front of me, but I know for a fact he had a 35-yard scamper. He had, this one, that one, a few other ones where we both came on the show and said, wow, DJ Dallas is looking explosive this year. And those were a contributing factor, I think, to that. But
Yeah, but
and I remember
that's a
some of those
contributing factor
explosive
to
runs
every running
outside
back.
the tackles, not just in between.
That's true for every running back. If you don't have the explosives, you're not gonna have a good average. Um, and, comparing one running back to another, like you
It's hard on 35
yeah.
attempts. I mean, it is.
I just think that, as a rookie, he looked very pedestrian. As a second-year
Totally true.
player, you saw a couple of flashes, but mostly it was really unimpressive other than he did some good stuff on kickoffs. Last year, he actually showed, um, a
Much
vast
more
improvement,
decisive. Yes.
and I think that, given the fact that McIntosh is not a between the tackles runner, um, he has one job. He's Travis Homer. He's a guy
Listen,
that's going to
I
be your third down back
yeah, I think you're wrong
if
because and the only there's 2 reasons I do. I can't remember the name of the area scout that was yeah, for Seattle, but he had some glowing things to say about McIntosh. The other person that had glowing things to say about, and you're going to laugh because it's Jim Nagy, but had some great things to say about Kenny McIntosh, and they
mhm.
had him graded as a 3rd or 4th round running back, and he felt like Kenny McIntosh was. They actually had him higher on Jim's board um, than they did Charbonnet, and there's a few different reasons for that. We don't have to rehash any of that, but they feel very highly about this back being able to come in immediately, and I just think that he offers. If you go look at him run, and I just did this morning, and he's just got something. There's just something there about the way he runs, about his juke moves, about the way that he's decisive, that makes me think that he's just a better prospect, a better back right now than DJ Dallas is. And so I don't know if the team views it that way. I'm just saying I'm hearing those things, and I watched some film that's kind of gives those type of indicators, and we'll see how it goes. Now, you could be right. DJ Dallas came on really strong last year, and if he comes in with that sort of attitude, and he's going to not let this young kid drafted in the 7th round take his job, that's a great news for Seattle. I just think that Kenny McIntosh is going to give us more sooner in his career than DJ Dallas did for sure.
Oh, yeah, because it took Dallas into his 3rd year before he looked like a competent, running back and more than just a special teams player, and I think you can get, a competent player out of Kenny McIntosh right away. I just think they're a different kinda back, so it's not, I don't think DJ Dallas and Kenny McIntosh are competing for the same job. I either they're competing for different roles. Um, I mean, yeah, DJ Dallas can do some of the third down things, but he won't be as good at that as, Kenny McIntosh. And yeah, Kenny McIntosh could probably do some of the running
Which tells
that
me
stuff, but
that Kenny McIntosh is going to
he
see the
won't
field more than DJ Dallas
but he
because we've
won't
already got
be good
Charbonnet.
at it. But the thing is, both of these guys are looking at playing time if someone gets injured.
Yes.
They're not gonna see this field much except for on, special teams unless one of the top 2 guys gets injured. And if Charbonnet gets injured, I think we see a lot of DJ Dallas. And if it's Walker that gets injured, I think we see a lot more of Kenny McIntosh because it's all about replacing the skills of the guy above you. And that's what I mean. I don't think they're competing for the same job. And also,
So
you have 4 the 4 running backs. Seahawks keep 4 running backs on the roster every year. Sometimes they keep 5, and they're all 4 making the team. I don't believe
agreed.
any of the other guys, the undrafted guys, they don't look like guys that are going to be in the mix for a running back job.
Yeah, that's interesting, and we can talk about these guys right now. The team signed Bryant Koback
Hmm.
to be on come in for rookie training camp. Although he's not a rookie, he wasn't drafted in 2022, but that's where he came into the league as an undrafted rookie free agent. Went to the Vikings, had a little bit of play with them. He's very athletic at 6 foot, 210 pounds, out of Toledo, 28 reps on the bench. So he's very, very strong. Looks and plays bigger than his 210 weight. Had a 40.5 inch vertical, 4.49 40. Had a 5.9 average in college with 53 total touchdowns. So very productive. But again, he's just a guy. And I think they just kind of wanted to take a look at him. So they brought him in.
I
Chris
don't know if
Smith
he's
is the end.
I
Go
don't know
ahead.
if he's just a guy. Those numbers you listed off show someone who is very explosive.
Yeah.
Now,
And
what that
big.
means is what that tells me is he's an athlete. He may not be a running back. And it's up to them and a little bit of the Vikings last year to turn this athlete into a running back, or find other ways to use him. He sounds like a guy that, because of his athleticism, is a special teams player. He might be the 5th running back that they keep simply because he can get downfield and make tackles on kickoff coverage.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that you need to be able to do if you're going to make it as one of the, if you're making the roster as the 53rd guy on the 53-man roster, you better be able to make an impact on special teams.
Yeah. Or they keep you on the 15 man roster, practice squad roster, and you come up and down,
Hmm.
on the 53 man occasionally. The other guy I was going to talk about is the undrafted rookie free agent that they brought in, Chris Smith, 5'9", 200 pounds from Louisiana, and ran a,
194.
okay, and ran a
194 pounds.
4.4 40, top end speed in a hurry, kick returner on his team, and did very well at that.
Hmm.
Also had 153 rushing attempts for 855 yards, led the team, great contact balance and elusiveness, hard to tackle. And so he's a completely different kind of prospect that we currently have on the roster. And potentially looking at him in the kick returner role
Yeah.
is what that would represent.
Kick returner, punt returner, um, little guy, 5'9", 194. Uh, but maybe like we were talking about Kenny McIntosh as the Travis Homer. These are the type of numbers that Travis Homer came into the league with, as far as size,
Right.
and was kind of instantly a um, specialist that they could use on, kick returns, and a guy that could, do some stuff out of the backfield and whatnot. Was never going to be a runner, but still contributed. Chris Smith has that. I like the fact that he's got some speed. He looks like a kick returner. What he needs to be able to do is to show the team that he's good enough on kick returns to be in the consideration, and that he does something else that will allow him to stick on the roster. He has to have something else other than returning kicks, that will make him
Yeah.
necessary to
Like
keep
Kenny
around.
McIntosh gets hurt,
Yeah, and then
essentially.
he
Yeah.
becomes, McIntosh's replacement. But that's
Yes.
the thing, is he has to show the team that he can do something else, and I don't know what that is yet. We'll see in training camp. I think he's got potential. I like his speed. I like, the explosiveness. The 2 guys that they brought in are athletes, and you can't teach athleticism, right? And so both of them have an opportunity to stick around just simply by the fact that they can contribute on special teams. And if you're the fifth running back, that's where you're going to make, that's where you're going to earn your paycheck this year. You know, as the fifth running back is on special teams.
So where do Ken Walker the third and Zach Charbonnet place the Seahawks as far as running back tandem, at least in the NFC? And how will having these two guys healthy and productive impact the team and impact wins?
Those are two very different questions. Um, how do they impact the team and wins? I think having both of them impacts the team greatly. We saw last year that this team needs to run the ball um, because it opens up. The offense is built on them doing a lot of things well, right? You need to be able to run the ball well, so you can play action off that. You can bootleg off of that. You can get throws downfield, which backs the safeties up, which allows you to run the ball better. They want everything to work out, um, and so having both of these guys um, it's huge because when they yeah, usually last year, when they shut the running game down, when teams would come up and stop Walker, the offense would struggle. And that's not just like, oh, well, Walker was the key and not Geno. It's that, the defenses or the offense is built, its scheme around being able to do everything. A little bit here, a little bit there. And they when they took away one thing, it just kind of fell apart. Um, Now you've got Charbonnet who can get in there and grind those yards anyway, even when they're coming up, which then will later open up for Ken Walker to have those huge runs, or Metcalf to make those big plays downfield, that kind of stuff. So overall, I mean, I think that it's huge. Now, as far as the running back tandems, that is a completely different question. Um,
And you may not be prepared, but what I was thinking about was Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers. Now, beyond Christian McCaffrey and say Saquon Barkley with the Giants, most of the impact runners in this league right now are in the AFC, which and also a lot of the impact quarterbacks are in the AFC as well.
the
That's why the
impact
AFC seems,
teams are in
yeah,
the
right. And so, but Nick Chubb with the Cleveland Browns, Derrick Henry with the Titans, Jonathan Taylor with the Colts, Josh Jacobs with the 49ers, Austin Eckler with the Chargers. I mean, you go on and on. Then you get to Saquon Barkley, Ken Walker the third, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott used to be with the Cowboys, but Aaron Jones with the Packers, I guess you could throw in there as well. Um, I just think it's interesting. I think that with Ken Walker and Charbonnet, you have
Interesting
really a
that you
nice
skipped
1-2.
you skipped Josh Jacobs, who led the
Well,
NFL in rushing.
I know I said Josh Jacobs from the Raiders.
Okay.
Um, but I just find it interesting that Ken Walker and Charbonnet, when you tag them together, I think that monster is significant as opposed to some of these guys that are just kind of one off that don't really have a nice tandem running back to pair with on their teams. And I
Yeah,
think it positions Seattle uniquely, especially in this division. You take a look at Christian McCaffrey, but that's it for them. He's also been injured, for a significant portion of his career as well. So they're also, dealing with that potential as well. But the Rams, with Akers, that's one thing, and that's it. When you take a look at Arizona, I don't even know who their running back is. Connor, I guess, would be it. But beyond that, they don't really have anything.
Connor looked
And
Connor looked like not the same
he's,
player this
he's
last year.
worn down because they don't
Mhm.
have anything else. So it's just interesting to me. I think that Seattle's got a really unique opportunity here to just kind of dominate the run game in the NFC, and I wouldn't surprise me if they do.
Yeah. That also wouldn't surprise me if they, I mean, because teams just don't, um they just don't carry 2 running backs a lot. Green Bay has over the last couple of years with Aaron Jones, was a starter, and then he was the backup, and then he was back to the starter again. But, they haven't been able to keep that duo together, um, I just
David
there's just
Montgomery
not.
and Jamara Gibbs, who Detroit just drafted, I think is a tandem that I think could wreak havoc in the NFC, and really propel the Lions, I think, to the next level in their development as well. That's a
Yeah.
kind of interesting one for me to
I'll give
watch.
you I'll give you one that I think fits, and that would be, you mentioned Nick Chubb, but he's backed up by Kareem Hunt.
Well,
Um,
Kareem's not on their team anymore. We'll see.
he's, listed on their roster on NFL.com, but, um, whatever, this means it hasn't been updated.
I don't
That
know. Yeah, I don't
that
think that he's an unrestricted guy that they don't really like him. So I was talking to Stump Mitchell
nobody
at
really
a
likes him.
I was talking to his running back coach. Well, I shouldn't have said that. I was talking to his running back coach at a function here in Phoenix, and I think that they really want to move on from him. He's kind of a malcontent in the locker room and on the field, and not is a polar opposite human being that Nick Chubb is, and so we'll see. I don't even know if he'll play. I think the NFL really is soured on him, but we'll find out.
Well, I'm surprised he was still in the league, if I'm being honest, because you remember how he ended up in
Oh,
Cleveland.
totally. Yeah,
Because
no, absolutely.
he was supposed to be the star in Kansas City until, um,
Until
his
he choked out somebody.
yeah,
Yeah.
his past caught up with him, and, so they just flat out cut him, and everyone was pissed at Cleveland for claiming him, but they're like, "He's gonna be suspended for at least a year. Once he's reinstated, we'll see, but we don't have to pay him or do anything between now and then." So, um, whatever, and then eventually he did get cleared to come back and all of
Hmm.
that, but yeah, I was surprised he was still in the league, but when he's out there, he is productive. That's why I was thinking the 2 of them, looked good as a pair, but you're right, like, if they don't bring him back, which it sounds like they're not going to, then you've got Nick Chubb, who's good, but gets injured occasionally,
Yeah.
and nothing really behind him.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. No, it's going to be a fascinating year. I mean, getting back to the conversation of Seattle, this team's loaded at position groups, at, in the athletes on this team. You got
Mhm.
Metcalf, Lockett, Walker, Charbonnet, Noah Fant, and
Najigma.
Disley and Jigba. I mean, holy cow, they're going to be able to move the ball this year and do it effectively and efficiently. Yeah, I'm really excited about the offense. I mean, it's just going to be something else. Now, if
Yep.
that defense can generate turnovers, which I think they can, you signed a guy in Witherspoon who's a turnover machine, not necessarily interceptions. He can do that, but just getting the ball loose, batting the ball up in the air. Diggs has always been good at generating interceptions. And if you can get, pressure this year on the quarterback, man, we could be top level turnover generating team, I think, in the NFL this year. And if that's the case, you're giving the ball back to your offense more often, creating more opportunities. I think this is a top 5 offense, really,
I
considering if the potential of the turnovers generated by the defense.
well, I mean, everything comes down to the defense with this team because the offense looks like it's gonna be good. And even like, it's all like last year we went in going, "Okay, their offense has talent." It all comes down to Geno, and can he do anything with it? Well, he proved he could. The offensive line kinda let him down, a little bit, but the rest of the talent looked good. Now it's a deeper team on offense at the skill positions. The offensive line looks like it's going to be better, this year than last year, and we're confident in Geno Smith because of what he did last year. So, where's the weakness? Where's the point? Like, where is the, part of the offense where things break down and the offense isn't good?
Center
Find me that spot. You think center?
right now before training camp, yes.
Well, they've got,
I mean, you got a rookie, and then you got Evan Brown, who looks competent, but is physically has been overmatched in the past, and I think in this division, he is susceptible
Yeah.
to the same exact thing. That's kind of where the internal weakness is on the offense, I think. Often you could say offensive guard if Haynes gets hurt, and he's proven that he's been hurt before. You've got potential either Evan Brown at moving to right guard with a rookie at center, or you've got two rookies on the interior right side of this offense. That to me is still a weakness until those guys get seasoned, and or proven otherwise.
See, my what I was thinking is just in terms of, yeah, those guys need to be seasoned and or proven otherwise, but they're replacing guys that were bad, right? Um, Austin Blythe was not a good football player. Gabe Jackson, who was great the year before, was really not good last year in any way. Um, it's hard to look at Evan Brown and Phil Haynes and the two rookies and go, yeah, they're going to be worse than that. I don't see it,
I hear you.
honestly. I don't
I
see
hear it,
it.
but your
So
question was, where's the weakness? And I think that's where you would point. Other than that, I mean, that's all I've got. I don't. There's no other weaknesses on the offense unless your quarterback goes down. And you can say that about 29 other teams in the NFL.
wait, there's two teams that have backups that you trust?
Maybe, but that would be it, right? That would be it, or 31 teams, if you will. If your main guy goes down, that's it. That's your season. The the weakness would be, and again, until I'm proven wrong, or or the situation is proven, you've got a rookie potentially at center, and you got a rookie potentially at right guard, which is all fine and great, and it worked out last year for us at the tackle spots. Um, but that's it. I mean, that's the weakness, and you basically said even though it's a weakness, it's an upgrade, and I
Yeah.
agree with that.
So, I just look at this offense and this was what it was a top 10 offense, despite the fact that the defense could not get off the field at all ever last year. Um, and so the offense had limited opportunities. Now I think it's better.
Yeah,
It's better at running back. It's better at receiver. It's better on the offensive line. Um, if the defense is even slightly improved, top 5, something weird would have to happen. Something's gonna have to go very wrong, in order for this offense not to be a top 5 offense.
Gino had almost 4,300 yards passing and 30 touchdowns with as bad as our defense was. I mean, we were like 28th in the NFL
Yeah.
in points allowed, yards allowed, etc.
So you and I both commented down the stretch that it felt like he was turning the ball over a lot more, and he did have a bunch of fumbles,
It's because he was
um,
pressing.
'cause well, he was also getting hit, which is the fumbles. He only had 11 interceptions on the year. That's I mean,
He had a
that's not
lot of
bad.
interceptable balls though. We'll have
Yeah,
to
that's true.
monitor that.
Um,
We'll have to watch that.
but he was pressing because the team was falling out of the playoff picture, and the running game wasn't helping him, and the defense was pathetic.
It
So,
was. Yeah. I would say if we can get into the top 15 range and, give or take 5 spots on the defensive side, um, that would be a vast improvement. I mean, you would see this team go from middling, just reaching the playoffs to a contender in no time because of how well oiled the offense is. So
mhm,
if you're a top 15, top 12 defense, watch out for this team because that means you're getting pressures, you're turning the ball over, you're stopping the run. And
yeah.
we've already know that we've got a back end of this team on the defensive backs that will rival any team. And so if you're doing those other things, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, but the front 7, so many questions about the front 7.
So many questions, and those questions will not be answered before probably week 6, 7, 8 in this season. And we won't
Yeah.
really know
We
what
won't
we've
we won't
got.
know. We will suspect we know, during training camp in the preseason, but we won't really know until we're into the year, and that is, not the best feeling.
No, it's not. It isn't. Because you want to be close. You've got an offense that can get you to the Super Bowl.
Yep. But they
What
didn't.
what is the defense going to do?
Yeah, that
So and
the front
we'll have
seven
these
is going to
conversations.
be interesting.
Yeah,
Do we
we're
even know what
talking.
this defensive scheme is going to look like this year?
I think we should wait for another show on that because that's a huge conversation, and
It is.
that will be in line with some of our defensive tackle and defensive end conversations that we're going to have. You know,
Yep.
Here we're talking about the quarterback position group, and we've just completely gone off the rails, Keith, which we can do. It's like us sitting in a bar having a conversation about the Seahawks. We can literally talk for hours, and the
Mhm.
conversation will just weave and bend and twist, and it's fun. But our listeners are here about quarterbacks, which we
Running
ended that
backs.
conversation about running backs. Sorry,
Running backs.
and we ended that conversation about 9 minutes ago, which is what we do. Sorry.
It's what we do.
Anyway, Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Kenny McIntosh, and DJ Dallas. That's our room. That's what we're going to go into the season with, in all likelihood, unless something else breaks.
Nick Ballore, baby.
And Nick Ballore, yeah,
at
he's
fullback,
listed as a running back, as a fullback on this roster,
which is
and
a
not
joke.
at linebacker. Which that alone is an improvement. I mean, to depend on him as a linebacker is just kind of a joke. But
Depending on him as a running back, it's a joke too.
I know
But
it's all weird, and they pay
he's
him.
a,
They re-upped him on a
he
new
is
contract at
he is the
32 years
special
old.
teams captain, special teams ace. He is a leader and practically a coach for the special teams. They pay him for that. Listing him at any other position besides that
They pay him
is a lie.
for his jokes, dude. Come on, let's be
Well,
real.
there's that. I mean, yeah. I
All
want to
right, let's
see
get out of
him.
here.
I want to see him in charge of the playlist for one day during training camp. Just
Nice.
one day.
Yeah.
It will entertain you.
I wonder how many will involve him as the lead back. Anyway, let's get out of here. Find Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. You can find me at NWC Hawk. Find the show on your favorite podcast platforms and subscribe, as well as YouTube. We've got our own YouTube channel. We're up to 2,300 subscribers or something like that. So it's
Nice.
It's channel's growing. Go out and subscribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and get the podcasts and the videos into your feed every week so you don't miss the show. And we're doing anywhere between 2 and 3 shows a week. So we're very consistent. This is our 450th episode.
450 episodes. That seems
450 episodes in the year 7 of our existence. So anyway, see you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me. Good conversation. And go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NWCHawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.